We're live again. It's Wednesday at noonish, and we're talking about leadership and people come first. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about empathy. That's a new word in the modern day. Empathy was a silly name under the old business models. And I'm going to pass this over to Jenny Langren. Welcome, Jenny, and John, and Linda. And now, of course, I'm Terry. And let's start this off. Empathy. Go ahead, Jenny.
Thank you. I remember teaching on empathy at university as I was teaching engineers in leadership and communication. And it's really interesting. It's so touching for all of us because we're affected when a person does not have empathy. I will describe empathy as absolutely feeling with someone. However, it's a cognitive process. It does not mean that I am only sympathetic. I am feeling with you, and therefore I'm just feeling what you're feeling, and I am unable to act and support. It means that it's a cognitive process. And in being a cognitive process, it's also a choice to feel what you're feeling and also seeing it from my perspective and being able to support. I believe we all have experienced, maybe for ourselves or seeing it from a distance, a friendship where the two are extremely sympathetic. They feel what the other person is feeling. It's like they're one person. And what usually happens is that you have given up and you've compromised so much of yourself that you've lost yourself in that relationship. And usually, like I know in time, those relationships go boom. Because we are not the same person. And empathy means that I'm able to be in myself and recognize and understand what you're going through, and being able to bring my perspective and be that supportive person in your life. So that's something that's coming up for me. Thank you, Terry.
Find the mute button, and I can do a lot of damage. Great start, great perspective on this very important subject. And as a behavioral scientist, you're spot on. You know, I'm one of those amateur rookies that knows enough to stay in trouble, and that's about it. And Linda has a very interesting take on this too, because she works with non-duality and those kinds of things. And empathy is huge. And I'm John and I are going to be talking about what that can mean in the business model here in just a little bit. I'm going to pass it over to Linda now. Go ahead.
I'd say the number one thing that empathy isn't is judgment, judging the other person for how they are feeling, making comments to get them to change how they are feeling. It's really easy to misunderstand a person's position. You can be best friends. You still don't know all the things in their past history, and you can easily jump to conclusions, which completely blows empathy out of the water. And the thing, it's also not pity. You're not pitying the other person. I like how Jenny used the word with. Empathy is about the ability to be with the other person. Even if you don't understand, you can just be with them. You don't have to even say anything. The most healing experience for me was after I lost my father to suicide as a teenager. My mom sending me to our church. We had like 7 pastors, and one of them had lost his wife, I think about a year prior to suicide. And he happened to have like a couch in his office. So he invited me to sit on the couch. He sat down with me. So literally we were just sitting side by side. And we didn't really say much at first, and yet he was just holding the container for me to say whatever I wanted. And then memories just started kind of coming through, and we started talking about our loved ones and what we remembered, and some of it was funny and some of it was sad. And it really, in the course of that probably hour, there wasn't a lot of conversation, but I never felt so witnessed, so held, and so understood. So yes, he got, a lot of what I was going through, but being with somebody who just is witnessing what you're going through, is showing that they care and is willing to hold space for you to just be. And well, especially with grief, we all grieve so differently. So staying out of judgment and just allowing you to grieve whatever is coming up for you. So that's kind of my take on it.
And for you leaders out there, I want to also emphasize saying words to somebody like, I want to be empathetic here. I really want to try to understand. That's the wrong thing to say. That's the last thing they want to know, is you want to try and be something because for some reason you think that's on your checkoff list for your next 360 review. It's about being empathetic. It's already being there. So when somebody comes up to you, you have the presence to fully listen to them, not thinking to respond, but to understand what they're going through, so you can put yourself in a similar situation and then further counsel and help them, refer them on. Whatever it may be, you may not be the answer, but you're the start. And if they trust you, they're going to come back when things are going on. And they're going to tell everybody else that's working for you, he listens, she listens. That's what's so amazing about her. It's no longer a checkoff item. It's part of your life. That part of being human is now available to you. Now let's get a business perspective here from John Chapelier. Come on in.
Thanks, guys. I think that the sympathy, empathy thing is a lot like, to me, is a lot like acceptance and agreement. I can agree with what you're saying. It doesn't have to accept. I have to accept it, but I don't have to agree with it. And so they're two distinctly different positions, yet they sound an awful lot alike. And so does empathy and sympathy. I'm not trying to feel bad for you. I'm trying to allow you to express how you're feeling and simply be a receptor for that. I think the other thing that's important, especially there are two things in business. One is, and I just sent this to Linda the other day, which was my sort of 10 common sense laws of leadership. And one of those laws is empathetic detachment. And the idea here is, if you're not able to listen and be compassionate and connect, and then when that's over, you have to be able to detach from that and move on. It can't be that I just keep taking all of this on me. By the end of the day, I'm going to need to go to a shrink at the end of the day, just to sort of offload all the stuff that's been dumped on me. So what I have to realize is these are not my problems. I'm not being asked to solve these problems. I'm being asked to simply accept where this other person is and be available with my time and my compassion, and listening, not just with my ears, but also with my heart. I mean, how is this? There's a whole lot of different worlds of listening, and to be a fully present listener is a very big gift to people. But as an executive, a business person, I now have to stop doing, at the end of that meeting, I have to stop and then go into something else meeting, and I have to be able to leave that behind and go into this. And so you have to be able to learn how to detach from that particular issue. You can't carry that, what you've accepted and allowed the person to offload onto you. You can't make it yours. You have to accept it and then let it go. Otherwise, you'd just be overwhelmed. The other thing is, I shouldn't laugh because it drives people crazy. And Terry said it is, make sure that what you're saying is of equivalent value. You know, my father just died versus, and then the person comes up and goes, I know exactly how you feel. My cat died last year. And it's just like, those are not the same thing. That's not we're talking about apples and oranges here. You don't know how you feel. So be careful of what you say. Things like, oh, I know exactly how you feel. If you don't know exactly how they feel, don't say anything. I know that sounds very silly, but all those phrases only do is create more distance between the two people. It does not bring you closer. It shows them that you really don't understand what empathetic behavior really is. It just means I'm just trying to compare in so that you'll like me or something. But I've seen people do this again and again and again. And I've had executives ask me, do you think I should say this when I talk to them? I was like, no, you should not. Why don't you just be quiet and let them talk to you? And when that happens, it's amazing. They come back and they go, well, that worked out really well. It's like, yeah, because that person really didn't want to hear from you. They just wanted to let go of what they were carrying. And you have to be there to accept it. That's all. So that's a business standpoint. It's just a matter of the loving and caring concerns that both Jenny and Linda expressed earlier should be expressed and carried in a business standpoint. But we have to remember that we have to keep going forward. Good friends that are psychiatrists and counselors all have to learn how to listen and then let go. So thanks.
That's wonderful. Great perspective. And this is that point where I haven't said this for a couple of weeks now. We've been doing this for a few weeks, ladies and gentlemen. This is about Leadership 101. Well, not exactly. This is also Leadership 1101. It's everybody. These are common sense things that people are just now becoming present with, and the power of being able to connect with your people. Your people respect you. They will follow you to hell because they believe you're going to bring them back. Okay. And it doesn't take a great general to do that. Okay. I've worked for some very senior people in my time in the Navy that shouldn't have been in a job they were in. That's neither here nor there. The rest of us knew what we were supposed to do, and we went and did it anyway. And were we disobeying orders? Not exactly. We were modifying them. Okay. So it's a take on words, but you new managers, you online employee, you senior managers, and you the boss, the big boss, the number one. Okay. It's all the same. You're getting paid to do a different job. Your job was produced by a set of experiences up until that point. You're no different than, I love using banks. The CEO of an international bank is got a different job than the bank teller at the front window of the drive-up. Okay. They're different jobs. The bank teller is just as important as the CEO because they do different things. The key here, ladies and gentlemen, the teaching for today is really not knowing the difference. It's understanding the difference. And I think that's a very valid point. I'm going to pass it back to Jenny for a little bit and bring some more stuff.
Yes, I was just unmuting and unmuting because there was so much coming in. Empathy for me is like another class that I taught, like coaching leadership. Empathy is holding space for people to figure themselves out. Compassion means that I genuinely care for this person, and I, on my side, is willing to act to support. So let's bring in compassion here and how that relates to empathy. I don't know if anyone wants to swing at that one.
I'm good with that. It's to me, the difference between, empathy is sort of, I can feel with you, and compassion is, I am actually moved by what you've said. And one is, to me, empathy is a listening exercise and compassion is an action exercise. I've listened to you, and now I'm going to take what you've said and move it into some sort of a correction or improvement or a process to help eliminate the issues associated with your feeling the need to have somebody connect with you on an empathetic level. Okay, now how can we fix this? And that's, to me, it's, again, I just leave it at that. It's the difference between listening and acting. That's, to me.
I can see Linda jumping around on her seat over there. Why don't you step in on this, partner?
Yeah. I was just reading what we had put out in the ad. An insecure leader will most likely focus on their own needs. A lack of empathy in an organization brings a lack of care, especially when it's coming from the top down. Empathy is a skill that can be learned. It is also a strength that can bring others into a safe place with what they are feeling, helping them become more comfortable with their feelings. And Terry and I are always teaching and building people up to experience healthy detachment, even healthy detachment from their own emotions. And so, just, okay, what is this emotion? Recognize it, give it its name, and where might that be coming from? Dig a little deeper, and then let it go. So I think it's so cool. We had let it go last week, and this week it's empathy, because those two teachings really follow each other.
Yeah, and here's another jump in on, listening to respond and listening to understand is a subject line that continues to resonate through all of what we're talking about. People come first, okay? Listen to understand, be part of the other person's anxiety or grief or happiness. It could be celebration. Being part of that. Obviously, we as human beings can get part of a celebration very quickly, but we don't jump into grief and those kinds of things because a lot of us really haven't had any training or someone to kind of mentor us about what's some good ideas to do. And like going through the grief process, there isn't any to-dos or not to-dos. It's about feeling and understanding and allowing your own personality and that part of your heart and your soul to come forward to be an assistance and understanding with some people, with the people that you're dealing with. And that could be 20,000 of your closest friends in your company. Or it's the person that happened to be sweeping a floor somewhere and they were doing it so erratically, rather than walk over to them and ask them, what the are you doing? Slow this down, get yourself together. You go over there and you say, you obviously are having a tough day. Is there something I can help you with? Diffuse that person so that they can grab themselves and be back into their personality without being snapped in by leadership or something like that. Anybody want to draw in on that? We're coming out to 19 minutes now. Who wants to?
I just wanted to jump in and say one thing. And you were talking about the value in business. The thing that's important here from a business standpoint is to realize that most business people have no idea how to do this. Absolutely no clue. So if you are a business leader, it would be very valuable for you to take the time to learn these skills, because you will then be the place everyone wants to go to work. You will be the place that everyone says, you got to go over and work with this guy because he is amazing as far as helping build people up, making them feel important. And as a business owner, because that's where I've been, my whole career has been a business owner. And that is, I will now have people who will be working for me way above the levels of productivity that I would normally expect, because they were excited to be there because I am connected to them on an emotional level. I mean, that's the subtitle of my company, Connecting Knowledge with Emotion. If you can get somebody emotionally connected to your job, I mean, what I've said to people over the years is if you can connect people emotionally to their jobs, they will follow you anywhere. But that takes work. I mean, they don't teach you this in business school. They don't teach you this in undergrad. They don't teach this anywhere other than go find some things like Terry or Linda have written, or Jenny or me, and read it and figure out how to learn these skills, because they are new skills and all new behavior is uncomfortable. That's it.
Absolutely. I have a very dear friend and colleague. Well, John and I both know him very well. Best-selling author, a New York University professor. He came into his world with a thirst for knowledge. And that thirst for knowledge now has 20 some years. He's read at least one business book a week for 20 some years. That's quite a library. And there's something to be said about that. Now, do you guys that are out there listening in, is that the best idea for you to go out and buy a book every week? No. It's what you can do. It's what you want to do. Go seek out. I think I get the New York Times online every morning, USA Today and some other ones. And I read through them because I want to know what's going on out there and what it means to me and what it means to the people that I help. Okay. I'm the mentor to the world's leaders, as John is. And all of us have our little niches in the world. And we're all reading every day, whether that's the news feed on LinkedIn, which is definitely not wasted time, or you're picking up a hard copy of the local newspaper. It's being connected to the world around you and bringing that connection to be able to help somebody in the future. That is power. And if you're an empathic leader, power doesn't come into your words because you just have it. And it's a different kind of power other than the it's a power of going, come to me, you can trust me. Okay. And anybody else want to hop in here for a minute? We're at going on 23 minutes, and I've got some emails to look at here. Comments?
Well, to the empathetic and compassionate leaders that I work with, I get to remind them to also be empathetic and compassionate with themselves, and therein making this value complete. So there are definitely leaders who have not yet explored this side of themselves. And then there are leaders who are so enjoying caring for their people and listening that they are actually on the other side, in the other ditch and forgetting to care for themselves. So I think that's something that I'd very much like to add to this conversation.
Delightful. Linda, you look like you're ready to pop in.
Just nodding in agreement. This was a great conversation. The bottom line is know who you are, check in with yourself, understand healthy detachment. Loved your definition of all of that, John. That was fabulous, and always appreciate Jenny and and her behavior science information that she makes things so clear as well. So thanks, guys.
Any final thoughts going into today? What a conversation. Ooh, this series has been so much fun. We picked my partner Linda and I picked the right people to throw in on this deal. So John, Jenny, anything?
No, I will allow you to be empathetically detached at this point. So thank you for coming.
Jenny?
I feel very, very complete, Terry. Thank you. You're muted, Terry.
Unmute is a good idea. So, yeah, we try to keep these about 30 minutes, and sometimes it's just not wise to spread it out for 30 minutes just to get 30 minutes. You know, the value is in what we say and how we say it, and the message to you all is thank you so much for being part of our world each week. And for those of you who are listening to this recording, thank you for doing so. And we're always around to watch for comments, and we will answer them. So reach out to us and be part of our world, and maybe, just maybe, we can be part of your world in another way, in another situation. Thank you all, my team, for coming in. This has been another great week, and thank you all for listening.